Panther people without the Carolina Panthers get embarrassed yet again. Should we actually be feeling good about next year? Good on you watching Panthers Post. Thanks for joining. Where the Carolina Panthers go to Tampa and get shellacked 48-14. How good should we be feeling about next year? Sure, Bryce, who didn't play a full season, looked somewhat competent, at least in the first half. He had some beautiful throws. He's showing the progressions that we wanted to see him do, albeit the bar is pretty low after weeks 1 and week 2. He's climbing the pocket. He got pressure, I think, on 70% of the passes, but still had over 200 yards passing, 2 throwing touchdowns to Adam Thielen. Beautiful throws, by the way. We're not talking about little dinger 2-yard shuttle passes. We're talking long bombs to the 36-year-old wide receiver who should be back in Carolina next year, no doubt. He's a good for the locker room guy. He's a good possession receiver for Bryce Young, but he also didn't have any picks, had nothing. And this is without Chuba Hubbard. So the pressure was on Bryce to go up against a divisional foe in the Tampa Bay Bucks at home. And I feel good about Bryce. I think he is a known commodity right now. I think we've seen that the Dallas game was an outlier, albeit somewhat of a concerning one. Like in inclement weather, he was unable to hold the ball. And I think and he's getting seemingly aesthetically looking like he's getting stronger compared to last year. Like last year, it looked like he just had a noodle arm. And I mentioned this in the draft process as well. You know, he was not built like there's any veins popping out of his arms or anything like that. This year, it looks like he's put on some weight. Next year, as long as he continues to put on lean muscle mass and build some strength in his forearms or anything, just to hold on to the ball as best he can. He doesn't have Kenny Pickett hands, but I think he can work on that. That he could work on because that's what killed the game against Dallas. His fumbles, his career high fumbles. I think it was 3 fumbles and 1 interception. Brutal. That killed the game. That iced the game. That was the outlier. But what we have seen since he has been back from that benching shows to me that with an improved offensive skill set around him, whether that is through free agency, whether it's a Chris Godwin, whether it's a T. Higgins, whether that's a Cooper Kupp, you can have your 2 aged white receivers on the outside, or whether it's Tet McMillan or that Luther, the third guy out of Missouri. Those guys, maybe some other pickups there, and hopefully a Xavier Legette who gets out of his head. And I mentioned this in previous episodes. You can say what you want about how I felt about that. He needs to just step back from the public eye right now. Like he is everybody's darling right now with his accent, his cuisine choices, just appearing on podcasts, which is fine. You can do that if you're playing well. I'm watching Monday Night Football right now. Like George Kittle is a one quirky dude. Like he is a weird cat, but he's also really damn good at what he does. And you can do that. You can be quirky, you can be weird, you can be cringe, kind of like how Travis Kelce is, but you also are one of the best players at your position. Like Malik Neighbors right now, who's another rookie wide receiver, is playing really darn well. I have not seen him on a podcast. Sure, he says things in the locker room, but he can kind of back it up because he's doing it on the field. He can say those crazy things in the locker room about whatever because he's doing it on the field. But Xavier Legette is not doing it on the field, and he's saying just stuff that doesn't make him look good, makes him not be taken seriously. And I want him to be taken seriously. He was picked in the first round for a gosh darn reason. And him making mistakes, like just not catching the ball when he can catch the ball and advance the drive. Like I said before, unfortunately, he's kind of trending not into Jonathan Mingo, not in Terrace Marshall, but almost like Ike Ekwonu, where he has these back-breaking misplays that kind of hurt the drive. Prove the offensive skill set around Bryce. Another year of Chuba Hubbard, he's gotten paid, but he doesn't seem like a guy who'll get complacent after that, whether it's a free agent wide receiver or a drafted wide receiver at the same time. So whether you get a Chris Godwin and a Tet, or a Chris Godwin and someone else in the later rounds, that Tez Johnson cat out of Oregon, something like that. Like, I think, and maybe another pass-catching tight end that could match up with Tommy Trumbo if he's still on the team, and JT Sanders, who has been oddly quiet, but you get somebody else to kind of work with them as well. I think Bryce is going to have a great year next year. And I think he's going to show continued growth that we've seen. Like, because whatever happened in those 3 weeks that he sat down, he's been getting coached up. And then just another offseason with a playbook that he's going to get more familiar with. And even in those 3 weeks, after seeing that, he seems to have more command of this offense. And I think with just increased presence of better skilled wide receivers on the outside, on top of what he has built right now with Jalen Coker, with Adam Thielen, and we'll see if David Moore is still here next year. I could see good things happening from Bryce, but it's a damn defense that needs some help. I'm seeing on the Twitter machine, which lately, mind you, this was, I don't know why people are surprised that the Panthers got blown out against Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Like, everybody, like, first of all, Derek Brown's been hurt since week 2. Like, he's been out. Like, he's not on the team, basically. And, like, JC Horn's banged up. Josie Jewell's banged up. And, like, everybody else besides JC, they're not even blue chip guys. And they weren't even playing. And how could we be surprised that they're going to get gashed on the ground, gashed in the air against Tampa Bay Buccaneers team, who is, trying to go, like, they're going to the playoffs, but, they have a little bit more to fight for than the Carolina Panthers do right now. So I'm not surprised. So I don't know why people are on X, which, again, anyone who's on X a little bit too long, you got to realize it's not the real world. It really isn't. Are that surprised and painting this doom and gloom about this team. Like, I think the offensive side definitely can continue to do some tweaks. And with that, Dave Canales and Brad Isaac are only going to get better. It's the first time that either of them has been in this position at this level of football. You would assume that he's only going to get better. And there's going to be growing pains. Even next year, there's going to be growing pains. But with the defense, there's so much to be added on this team. And as I said before, give this team 2 off seasons, 2 full off seasons, 2 full drafts, 2 full free agencies, trades, all that stuff to try to make this defense better, a bit more fierce. And again, maybe they go defense again in the first round. I think that will probably be the way to go. At last time I checked on Tankathon, the Panthers are picking 7th overall in the draft. I think all signs are pointing to defense, depending on what happens beforehand. But this defense needs help. And I think Josh Norris, who, again, very knowledgeable, one of the more public fans of the Carolina Panthers on social media and just in the networks as well, says, if the Panthers just had a normal defense, if they just had a normal defense that was healthy, I think they're competitive against almost all the teams. Maybe maybe they can't overcome the turnovers by Bryce against Dallas, but I think they beat the Falcons when they should have beat them in overtime. Or was that the Falcons? Or was that the Bucks? I think that was the Bucks. Should have beat the Bucks in overtime. Maybe they beat the Eagles. Maybe they beat the Chiefs. Like, you never know. Like, because there are moments in that Chiefs game, aka that Patrick Mahomes scramble that led to the winning field goal. I think if you had a normal defense, I don't think that happens. So yeah, like, I feel good. Again, this is the post game, and I'm still probably a little bit hungover from the Bills game yesterday. By the way, Bills Mafia, you guys are crazy. I only hope that one day, like, tailgates outside Bank of America Stadium are as organically wild like that. And mind you, this was like a meaningless game against a crappy team in the Jets, and the vibes were great. And it's a matter of time before it comes back to Bank of America Stadium, Cam Newton style 2015. But I do feel good, and I have faith in the fact that our GM is a former linebacker, knows that side of the ball more than anything, and he's going to look for dogs. Guys like Charles Smith Wade, guys like Ashawn Robinson, they have produced. They were picked up in the draft and free agency. Some of the other cats on defense as well have been doing okay. It's just, he's got to stay healthy. Next year with a healthy Derek Brown, again, it was a meniscus. I don't think it's anything that should be really too worried about. We'll see what kind of condition Shaq Thompson's in. He could be a cap casualty, unfortunately. And again, in the draft, could you get a Will Johnson? I think they're definitely in the realm of a Will Johnson being picked with pick number 7 in the draft. Like, that is definitely a possibility. Let's see how they do with the Atlanta Falcons, because right now Michael Penix is looking quite composed for not playing like a rookie, like just showing the benefits of sitting down and watching someone like Kirk Cousins making fun of him as much as you want. But Michael Penix looked damn good against the Washington Commanders, who were a lot of people's darlings in the NFL right now, especially Jaden Daniels, no doubt, seemingly a shoo-in to be Offensive Rookie of the Year. As I see this, George Kittle just had a nice catch and run. And they're getting called back. But I feel good. Like, I feel better going into this offseason than I have in previous off seasons. And let me know in the comments below. How do you guys feel? How do you feel about this team? How do you feel about Bryce? How do you feel about the rest of the offense? How do you feel about the defense? What do you think they need to help the most? Obviously, in my opinion, if Mason Graham, Abdul Carter, Will Johnson there for 7, you go for it. And I was talking to my friend Edgar Salmingo Jr., who is smart in the football game. Like, he's smarter than me. Like, he has a full-time job and a family, and he was pointing at his own backyard, looking at the LA Rams, and just looking at how they build their team. And remember, they didn't have a first round pick for quite some time. They sold the farm to try to get that Super Bowl winning team. They got it, but they got guys like Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, guys who they picked later in the draft and developed them. Guys like Romeo Dobbs out of Green Bay. Like Green Bay consistently just drafts great wide receivers deep into the draft. Same with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Like we need something like that because sure, Ted McMillan looks like an absolute beast. He kind of looks like a Hawaiian T Higgins. But I think right now we need a team that can stop the run and just try to keep games close for Bryce to do his thing. How many potential game-winning drives have Bryce Young led? And it's been a lot. Now just give him a defense that can stop the damn ball and then maintain some of these leads or force short fields to help him. I think we'd be in good position. So let me know in the comments below. How do you feel about this team heading into the very last week of the season? And also let me know in the comments below. We'll talk about it, obviously, when the season's done officially next week against the Falcons. What was your highlights of this year? What are some of the lowlights? And luckily, there's been less than normal in the last couple of years. So let me know. What are some of your Christmas wishes? I know it's past, but Hanukkah's still happening. So what are some of your wishes for this offseason? Who do you want? No doubt. Who is on your wish list to get on this Carolina Panthers team? Mind you, you're going to have to pay extra for them to be on this team. But let me know in the comments below. See you guys midweek. Again, if you love Panthers Post, you want to join the membership, it's $1.39 American, $2.99 Canadian. Our dollar sucks. You get early access to videos, exclusive videos. I'm talking mock, baby. I'm already lining up the off-season guests, and it's going to be stacked. Some of them will be exclusive. You'll also get early access, also live chats. See you guys soon. And Happy New Year.